In 1946, a small town in Texas was gripped by a reign of terror that would haunt its streets for months and leave an enduring legacy that still chills the bones of those who dare to remember it. The story would later inspire a 1970s movie titled The Town That Dreaded Sundown. But the real events behind this terrifying tale are far darker and far more disturbing than anything Hollywood could ever create. This is the true story of the Texarkana Moonlight murders, a series of brutal, unsolved crimes that turned a quiet town into a place where no one felt safe after dark. It all began on a cool night in February 1946. Jimmy Hollis, 25, and his girlfriend Mary Jean Larry, 19, were parked on a secluded road just outside Texarkana. The young couple was enjoying a quiet moment together when suddenly their world was shattered by a blinding flashlight. A man wearing a white cloth mask with holes cut out for his eyes approached their car. Before they could react, he ordered Jimmy out of the vehicle. The masked man told Jimmy to take off his pants. Confused and terrified, Jimmy hesitated, prompting the man to crack his skull with the blow was so severe that it fractured Jimmy's skull. He fell to the ground, bleeding profusely. Mary Jean screamed, hoping to draw attention, but there was no one around to hear her. The attacker then turned his attention to her. He told her to run. Mary Jean did as she was told, but the man caught up with her, assaulted her brutally, and left her for dead. Miraculously, both Jimmy and Mary Jean survived the attack, but they were left with severe injuries and scars that would never heal. They were the first known victims of what would soon be called the Phantom Killer. Less than a month later, the killer struck again. This time, his victims weren't so lucky. On March 24, 1946, Richard Griffin, 29, and his girlfriend Polly Ann Moore, 17, were found dead inside Richard's car on a secluded lover's lane. They had in the back of the head, execution style. It was a horrific scene and one that sent shockwaves through the town of Texarkana. The police were baffled. There was no motive, no clues, and no witnesses, just two young lives snuffed out in cold blood. The murders didn't stop there. On April 13th, Paul Martin, 17, and Betty Jo Booker, 15, were found murdered under similarly grisly circumstances. Paul's body was discovered first, lying on the side of the road, having been 4 times. Betty Jo's body was found later, 2 miles away. She had been twice, and her body was left in the woods. Her beloved saxophone was missing, adding another layer of mystery to the case. By this time, Texarkana was in a state of panic. The townspeople were gripped by fear, and the once peaceful community was now living in terror. The streets were deserted after sundown, and people armed themselves with locking their doors and windows at night, praying they wouldn't be next. The Phantom Killer, as he was now known, seemed unstoppable. The police were overwhelmed, and the investigation yielded little progress. Rumors began to circulate about the killer's identity. Some believed he was a local resident, others thought he was an outsider who slipped in and out of town unnoticed. The truth was, no one knew who he was, or if he would ever be caught. The last known attack occurred on May 3, 1946. Virgil Starks, 37, and his wife Katie were at home, winding down for the evening. Virgil sat in his armchair reading the newspaper, while Katie relaxed in their bedroom. Without warning, were fired through a window, hitting Virgil in the back of the head. He died instantly. Katie, hearing the rushed to her husband's side, only to find him lifeless. As she attempted to call the police, the killer shot her twice through the same window. Remarkably, Katie survived. She managed to run to a neighbor's house for help, leaving a trail of blood in her wake. But once again, the Phantom Killer vanished into the night. The Texarkana police, with the assistance of the Texas Rangers, launched one of the largest manhunts in the state's history. They questioned hundreds of people, investigated countless leads, and patrolled the streets every night. Despite their efforts, The Phantom Killer remained elusive. The murders stopped as suddenly as they had started, leaving the town with no closure, no justice, and an enduring sense of dread. The case remains unsolved to this day. Over the years, many suspects have been considered, but none were ever definitively linked to the crimes. The Phantom Killer became a figure of legend, a shadowy presence that haunted the collective memory of Texarkana. As the terrifying true story of the Texarkana Moonlight murders unfolded in real life, it eventually made its way to the big screen in 1976 with The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Directed by Charles B. Pierce, the film became a cult classic over the years. Pierce, known for his work on another low-budget hit, The Legend of Boggy Creek, brought the haunting story of the Phantom Killer to life with a gritty, documentary-like style. Starring Ben Johnson as the relentless Texas Ranger Captain J.D. Morales and Andrew Prine as Deputy Norman Ramsey, the film follows the lawmen's tireless pursuit of the masked killer. Dawn Wells, best known for her role as Mary Ann on Gilligan's Island, also appears in a memorable role as one of the killer's potential victims. Although the film didn't receive widespread acclaim from critics upon its release, it slowly gained a loyal following due to its eerie atmosphere and terrifying premise. It wasn't a major box office hit, but its chilling depiction of the unsolved murders and the suspense-filled recreation of the attacks struck a nerve with audiences. Today, it's considered a staple in the cult horror genre, remembered for its unsettling portrayal of true events and the fear it continues to instill. The film was successful enough to inspire a 2014 meta-sequel, also titled The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which blends fiction and reality, acknowledging both the original film and the real-life murders. However, much like the Phantom Killer himself, the mystery surrounding the case and its impact on popular culture remains deeply unsettling to this day. As the sun sets in Texarkana, the shadows grow long, and the town once again remembers the nights when no one felt safe. The question that lingers even today is simple. Who was the Phantom Killer? And could he still be out there, waiting for the right moment to strike again? This case remains one of the most infamous unsolved cases in American history, a mystery that continues to fascinate and terrify us decades after the last fired. So next time you find yourself alone in the dark, remember the town that dreaded sundown. Because sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that are true.